Hi, hello and welcome back to Bioenergetics. My name is Devraj, and today we're going to continue looking at the Reich home book by Jack Willis. If you saw the first one in this series, then I was looking at the basic posture and talking a little bit about the history of the home book. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about what Reich did in this posture, and also we're going to look at a couple of slight changes to the posture that we can make to take things a bit deeper. Before we get into it, it's important to understand with this kind of Reichian work and with bioenergetics as well, that it's not a quick fix strategy. With this breathing technique, before you start to kind of change and alter it, you need to be able to do it for at least, Willis recommends like an hour. I would say 20-30 minutes at least. So, I understand from my own brain being at times quite dopamine addicted, but I just want to do something and then change it and do it for 5 minutes and then change it. But if you're kind of like that, you've got to understand that is going to stop you from actually getting much development with these kind of exercises or with this kind of technique. So you need to be willing to kind of, spend time with it and really feel it and get into it, and then you will get a result. Okay, so let's take a look. We're back on the mat and basically lying on my back, knees up, and feet around hip width apart, maybe a little bit closer. And actually, to do it properly in the Reichian way, I'd have my palms facing down. I tend to have palms facing up, but it's okay. I mean, actually, what Reich would do in this, he would get his patients to lie actually on a massage table in the same position, and then he'd get them to breathe for like 5-10 minutes quite deeply. So it would be trying to get the belly and the chest to inflate with the eyes open, so it would be like. And then for these sort of 3 or 4 minutes, he would observe his people, observe the patient, the client, perhaps I should say, and just see how the breathing is and see whether there's tension holding, look for any movements in the body, the facial or whatever. And then what he would do is start to kind of prod into people. This is what I've heard. Obviously didn't study under Reich, I'm not old enough, but he would prod places like the sternum and here around here, epigastrum, solar plexus, or maybe up into the shoulders a bit, and try to induce like a kind of reaction from the client. So I'd be breathing away, and then he's starting to prod into the rib cage or something, and you're getting like tremors and movements, or maybe emotions are coming up. I might feel sad or get really angry at him or something like that. And then he would encourage the expression of these feelings. And the idea was, you'd go for sessions like weekly or fortnightly, monthly, and he'd work deeper and deeper and clear. The idea is with this pressing and with the deep breathing together, that you start to stimulate natural cathartic reactions from the body. It was called vegetotherapy, and you stimulate natural reactions, and at some point the body goes into a kind of cathartic release from the pelvis, which he used to call the orgasm reflex, which is not you actually ejaculating, coming, but basically your body going into a kind of orgastic natural release, which you're not controlling from your mind in any way. It's just your pelvis is somehow just releasing it and allowing your body to release tension and holding and trauma without really your mind having to do anything but follow along with the breathing and feeling. So that's basically what Reich was doing, as I understand it. What we're going to do today, we looked last week at just doing this deep breathing for a while, eyes open or closed, but if we're going to do it properly, we should have eyes open the right way. So what I'm doing is really focusing on my breath, feeling my belly and then my chest inflate and then deflate. I'm breathing quite deep and slow. Even I could slow my breath down more, in fact. And there's no gap between the in-breath and the out-breath. So these are key to the thing. And you need to practice this until you can maintain this for at least 20 minutes. Now, I don't know if you can hear it or not, but I'm making a bit of sound when I breathe in and out. And when you're more versed at this technique, the first thing you can do is to try, the sound comes from the throat, because we're used to breathing by opening and constraining our throat. And what ideally you want to do is be able to breathe in and out deeply but silently. So the first amendment we can make, once we've got to being able to do this for 20 minutes with relative comfort, is to start to breathe by pressing the belly and then the chest outwards. So I'm pushing my belly then chest outwards rather than kind of controlling breath at the throat. And now I'm breathing in deeply, but all that's happening is because my mouth's open, as I expand my belly and my chest, air comes in naturally and then it goes out naturally as I reverse. So there's no sound anymore. So that's a great technique to practice, like I say, once you've got to at least 20 minutes of being able to breathe deep and stay in this posture. And then the second thing that Reich and Jack Willis talks about is making a slow sound, a small sound on the out breath, a small R sound. So I'm doing this silent breathing, but I'm adding this R sound on the out breath. So, you could just, practice with this R sound. It should be a natural, fairly short ah kind of sound. And you'll find that resonation that it creates, because Reich was using sound a lot, also starts to produce a cathartic process. So practice these two, practice initially just breathing in this posture, deep breathing without trying to do anything to your throat or make a sound especially. And practice doing that and build it up so you can do it for at least 20 minutes. You should get a tingling sensation in your body when you're doing it good, and that's natural. Don't let it worry you. It can be quite extreme, it can be quite localized, particularly to the hands, but don't worry about it. It's not a bad thing. And then once you've got that easily, practice adding this silent breath, and then practice silent in-breath and this deliberate slight R sound on the out-breath. And remain feeling your body, feeling your belly and your chest inflate, and feeling your body as you make this sound. And work that up to 20-30 minutes. And then next week, we're going to look at a few variations you can make. So, just to finish off, this indicates a lot of the basic principles of catharsis, really, as Reich elucidated them, by deepening the breathing, having continuous breathing, charging the body really with, they say it's charging it with air, but I think it may be more driving out, not building up too much carbon dioxide. And that starts to create a spontaneous release process. It's like we're charging the body with energy, which Reich himself called orgone, and he got very obsessed with orgone, and it really became his undoing, to be honest. But whether you believe in it as a scientific reality or not, certainly we experience the feeling of being energetically charged. And then he would add some sound, or maybe he would use pressure or bodily movements, which we'll be looking at later in this series, to start to induce natural movements. So what would often happen was, people would be on the massage table and their bodies would start to vibrate, sound would come, they might start to twitch or burp or something like this. And these were natural releases, because as you up the level of energy in the body, so stuck charge and holding that's there in the muscles and dead zones in the muscles start to be driven out in a kind of cathartic release. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Feel free to like and subscribe and all that stuff. Check out my website and the 52-week journey if you really want to go for it with the bioenergetics. That's bioenergetics.org.uk. And I will see you again shortly for some more Reichian work, from the Reich Home Book by Jack Willis. Speak to you soon.